Hey, this is the first essay in March. This is a new beginning because we're going to focus on in the next 6 weeks in March and April on specific STARS 2023 test prompts. So they're a little bit different because this is a brand new test. They are integrating reading and language arts. So it's actually called RLA. And what that means is they're going to give you a text passage filled with content, and you're going to reply to those passages. And instead of they give you a 26-lined piece of paper prior to this in the previous STARS test in 4th grade and 7th grade. Now the passages are smaller. The writing passages that you will respond to are smaller, but they want the content to be more detailed and specific to reflect the reading portion that they're going to give you. So this is really tricky because what they're going to ask you to do is draw conclusions and make inferences. And these are the questions on tests that most kids get wrong because it's making a logical leap. What does this mean? Given the context clues, given what I've just read, now I have to apply that information. So this is higher level critical thinking. Okay, so to do this a little bit differently, I thought, well, let's read some great literature. So we're going to start with Two Brothers by Leo Tolstoy. It's a very short story, packed with information. Okay, so here we go. Two brothers set out on a journey together. At noon, they lay down in a forest to rest. When they woke up, they saw a stone lying next to them. There was something written on the stone, and they tried to make out what it was. Whoever finds this stone, they read, let him go straight into the forest at sunrise. In the forest, a river will appear. Let him swim across the river to the other side. There he will find a she-bear and her cubs. Let him take the cubs from her, run up the mountain with them without once looking back. On top of the mountain, he will see a house, and in that house, he will find happiness. When they had read what was written on the stone, the younger brother said, let's go together. We can swim across the river, carry off the bear cubs, take them to the house on the mountain, together find happiness. I'm not going into the forest after bear cubs, said the elder brother, and I advise you not to go. In the first place, no one can know whether what's written on this stone is the truth. Perhaps it was written in jest. It's even possible we have not read it correctly. In the second place, even if what is written here is the truth, suppose we go into the forest and night comes and we can't find the river. We shall be lost. And if we do find the river, how are we going to swim across it? It may be broad and swift. In the third place, even if we swim across the river, do you think it's an easy thing to take her cubs away from the she-bear? She will seize us. And instead of finding happiness, we shall perish, and all for nothing. In the fourth place, even if we succeeded in carrying off the bear cubs, we could not run up a mountain without stopping to rest. And most important of all, the stone does not tell us what kind of happiness we should find in that house. It may be that the happiness awaiting us there is not at all the sort of happiness we would want. In my opinion, said the younger brother, you're wrong. What is written on the stone could not have been put there without a reason, and it's all perfectly clear. In the first place, no harm will come to us if we try. In the second place, if we do not go, someone else will read the inscription on the stone and find happiness, and we shall have lost it all. In the third place, if you do not make an effort and try hard, nothing in the world will succeed. In the fourth place, I should not want it thought that I was afraid of anything. The elder brother answered him by saying, the proverb says, in seeking great happiness, small pleasures may be lost, and also a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. The younger brother replied, I've heard, he who is afraid of the leaves must not go into the forest, and also beneath a stone no water flows. The younger brother set off, and the elder brother remained behind. No sooner had the younger brother gone into the forest than he found the river, swam across it, and there on the other side was the she-bear, fast asleep. He took her cubs, ran up the mountain without looking back. When he reached the top of the mountain, the people came out to meet him with a carriage to take him into the city where they made him their king. He ruled for 5 years. In the 6th year, another king who was stronger than he waged war against him. The city was conquered and he was driven out. Again, the younger brother became a wanderer. and he arrived one day at the house of the elder brother. The elder brother was living in a village and had grown neither rich nor poor. The two brothers rejoiced at seeing each other and at once began telling of all that had happened to them. You see, said the elder brother, I was right. Here I have lived quietly and well, while you may have been king, have seen a great deal of trouble. I don't regret having gone into the forest and up the mountain, replied the younger brother. I may have nothing now, but I shall always have something to remember, while you have no memories at all. Okay, so we have a wonderful, cute story here. So I'm going to kind of switch to my board here because a lot of that information on the board here is really important. Okay, let's see if I can pop that up here. Okay, so we have two brothers, Leo Tolstoy. We have, who is this? Who are our characters in here? Well, what's interesting in this story is we have no antagonist. We have no evil villain, but we have here is two brothers. We have an older brother and a younger brother. Remember, a story, the only thing that it has to have is a conflict. And what a great conflict. We have sibling rivalry. So relatable, because if you have a sibling, you understand there's a butting of heads. The youngest of four, believe me, I know. So what we're going to talk about today is a couple things in the story. We're going to break down, well, what was the conflict? Okay, they find this stone. And if you're following along, I am on page 2. After the story, at the end of the story, I'm right here if you want to kind of follow along with me. And they disagree whether or not to follow the instructions written on the stone. They just happen to find sitting next to them after they wake up from a nap. Now, later on in the story, it tells us they were kind of homeless. They were wanderers. So they're journeying to find their place in the world. That we know. So here's what the stone says. These two brothers are sleeping and they wake up. And I remember telling everybody, how big did you look at the stone when you saw a stone? Well, it had 4 things written on it. Number 1, go straight into the forest at sunrise. Okay. So I want you to think about these directions. They're pretty vague. A forest can be pretty big. Does it say where? In the forest, a river will appear. Then swim across the river to the other side. Again, unclear. There's no GPS. There's no navigation system. It's a big forest. Is it possible there's more than one river? Think about that. Third, a mother bear and her cubs will be there. So take the cubs from the she bear. Okay, I'm out. That's just ridiculous. No one messes with a mama bear and her cubs. That's an unwritten rule. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever's watching this, nobody messes with your mama. If somebody tried to mess with you, her child, she would take them out. I promise you she would, because I would. So yeah, and then run up the mountain with them without looking back? No. And then on top of the mountain, there will be a house where happiness will be found. Okay, so notice these instructions. Very general, very vague, nothing clear. Okay, so we know it takes place in a forest, a mountain, a kingdom, a village. We assume 1700s, 1800s, given in contextual clues. But what we know about this story is both brothers assess risk differently. And assess just means look at it, perceive it. One wants to take a risk, obviously the younger one, while the other one, the older one, wants to play it safe. Now, think about what we know about risks. And those of you who've been with me for months or years, I've done essays on risk before. I think last year we did an essay on risk. I think it was on a fairy tale. But we learned 2 things about risk. Younger people are more inclined to take a risk than older people. There's a fearlessness to younger people. And a lot of that, especially if you're under 26, is this underdeveloped prefrontal cortex. Your brain is not fully matured, so you don't make mature decisions. And the other component of risk is male-female. Females are less inclined to take risks than males. Now, I ask students in my class, now, why is that? And really comes down to genetics. It comes down to men are conditioned as hunters and gatherers. They are conditioned. And we know that they're stronger. And don't get mad at me, girls. You don't see girls playing on boys' sports teams. Why? It's not fair. Boys genetically are stronger than females. I didn't say intelligence. I said physically. We can go ahead, a whole other argument on mentally. Okay, so we have two brothers who choose opposite paths. They both believe their choice was right. The younger brother is fearless and takes the risk to follow the stone's instructions. And we know as a result, he becomes king for 5 years. I want you to think about that. I mean, that is living the ultimate. You have ultimate wealth, prestige, status, power. And even if it was a time limit of 5 years and he's ousted, wow, those 5 years, right? Those are a lot of great stories to tell, right? The older brother, the cautious and wise older brother, refused to take a chance. He does not know where the stone conveniently came from or whose advice it was. So he is not going to trust it. So he says, I'm out. And as a result, the 5 years later, we find he lived a quiet, normal life in that village, neither rich nor poor. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do here. We're going to look at the way, I'm going to go into the story here. I'm going to share the document. This is one of those essays, everybody, that you really need to be here for. So if you're going to miss a STARS prompt in the next month, March or April, try to come on a different day because it's just really, really hard. Okay, so I'm going to show you something. This is the older brother's arguments right here, this section here, and I'm going to italicize that. So I want you to notice something. The first thing he says, I'm not going into the forest after bear cubs. I advise you not to go. He addresses worst thing here, worst thing to do. So notice it's kind of in the first place. I love this. No one can know whether what's written on this stone is the truth. Perhaps it was written in jest. It's even possible. I'm going to color code this a little bit here. I think that might help what I did in class. I'm going to color code it here for a second. Perhaps it was written in jest. It's even possible we've not read it correctly. Okay, that's a pretty good argument, right? Yeah, I don't trust it. We're asleep. Somebody just puts a stone here. You're going to trust the person who did that? He's saying it could be a joke. Maybe we're not reading it correctly. Maybe someone is trying to, trap us. In the second place, so we have a second argument here. Make sure I color code that correctly. Ooh, I don't like that orange. Let's do this one. In the second place, even if what's written here is the truth, suppose we go into the forest at night, as night comes, and we can't find the river. We shall be lost. And if we do find the river, how are we going to swim across it? It may be broad and swift. So we actually have two arguments here. Very valid arguments, in my opinion. Totally get what he's saying here. There's no GPS navigation system here. It's a pretty big forest. What are the odds you're going to find the right river? Okay, and if you do find the right river, what if it's rained the night before and there's rapids? What if it's really cold, right? In the third place, I'm going to color code this one. This one's going to be blue. If we swim across the river, do you think it's an easy thing to take her cubs away from the she-bear? Okay, this is the best argument. She will seize us. And instead of finding happiness, we shall perish. And perish is a nice word for die and all for nothing. This is the best argument. In the fourth place, and there's actually a fifth argument here, even if we succeeded in carrying off the bear cubs, we could not run up a mountain without stopping to rest. He's assuming the mama bear's going to be chasing them down to get her babies back. And that's a pretty good logical assumption. Most important of all, the stone does not tell us what kind of happiness we shall find in that house. So it's really interesting. This is actually a fifth argument. It may be happiness awaiting us there is not at all the sort of happiness we would want. What's one person's happiness may not be another. Okay, so then we have the brothers argument, and you'll notice when you compare the older brother's arguments, you know, this long, and the younger brother's this long. In my opinion, you're wrong. Doesn't that sound like a younger brother? What is written on the stone could not have been put there without a reason. Okay, so this is actually the first argument. He believes that it's fate. It is fortuitous that this happened, maybe call it karma, whatever, for a reason. In the first place, so this is, again, that first argument, no harm will come to us if we try. No risk, no reward. We have nothing to lose by trying. That's actually a pretty good argument, actually. In the second place, I actually like this one. If we don't go, someone else will read the inscription on the stone and find happiness, and we shall have lost it all. I actually think this is a good argument too, because think about that. What if this is your moment to play the lottery, as an analogy, and you play, your neighbor plays it and wins and you don't? You're like, I should have played, right? Or I should have tried out for that basketball team. In the third place, if you do not make the effort and try hard, nothing in the world will succeed. This is like, you know, you got to take a chance. So what if I fail? I still need to take the chance, because it's better to know than never to have tried. In the fourth place, I should not want it thought that I was afraid of anything. And this is really the younger brother saying, you're a coward. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing there. So I just kind of wanted to show you that visually. Okay. Now the actual STARS prompt, this is my example. What they did in January is they gave teachers kind of this mini lesson. Until we know the actual test, we don't know. I will tell you the passages they gave were nonfiction and really, really boring. So I chose to do a story. So it says, read the question carefully, then enter your answer in the box. So again, this is not going to be 26 lines. This is going to be entered in the box. When is it important to take risks in life, and when is it wise to play as safe? Now, you'll see it highlighted on your document. Explain, here's what they want you to answer, whether you think the younger brother or the older brother made the better decision about taking a risk when it came to following the stone's directions. Now, there's a hint here, the word you. In the directions makes it clear this reply is an opinion and should be written in first person. So here's two example topic sentences. And it must answer what they're asking you. In my opinion, the younger brother was brave to take a risk and follow the instructions on the stone. In the end, it paid off for him. So that could be one answer. Or obviously we take the older brother. In my opinion, because the older brother was cautious and wise, refusing to take a risk, he did not follow the instructions on the stone, and he lived a quiet, peaceful life. Remember, a risk is a situation involving exposure to danger, harm, or loss. Okay, so the new STARS Reading Language Arts response asks for 3 things. And those of you who are my students, you're welcome. This is how I teach. Make a claim. I just did that. Your topic sentence will answer the prompt. You make a claim. Either the younger brother was braver to take a risk, or the older brother was wiser not to take the risk. Then you back up each claim by giving 3 reasons to support the claim. Sounds like something I do, doesn't it? Now, the only difference here is for each of the 3 reasons, give proof from textual evidence. Okay, what does that mean? It means you go back in the story and you give proof. So you either give a summary of what happened in the story or you quote it. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to quote it. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here. So all I did here was kind of go, and then you can kind of see here, this is what the rubric is. Okay, so I'm actually going to do body 1 for you first today. So notice right here, this is just the quotes from the story. So I just thought it would be easier for me to show you, this is how much the argument was of the little brother. So obviously he had, his is the harder side to prove because his arguments weren't as strong. So first of all, the younger brother believed the stone was placed next to the two brothers while they were sleeping for a reason. He believed it was worth taking a risk. So something like that. Now I'm going to back it up with text. The younger brother specifically says, comma, space, quote, capital N, no harm will come to us if we try. Okay. What does that mean? Okay. So whenever you use a quote, you always explain what the quote means. I think he thought there was no risk really, that it was worth it to him, that this was their moment. They were going to seize their opportunity and it was worth everything to try. Okay. Second of all, the younger brother is worried someone else will be given this once in a lifetime opportunity. So he thinks it's worth it. Again, how do I know this? Because the younger brother comments, quote, if we don't go, someone else will read the inscription on the stone and find happiness and we shall have lost it all. I believe he thought it was intended for them, that there was a reason the rock was placed next to them. There was a reason it happened at this time, and it was their moment. Third, the younger brother shows his fearlessness and willing to try. This was clear when the younger brother remarks, I should not want it thought that I was afraid of anything. I think he believed if he didn't make an effort, he would never know what he could have achieved. So concluding sentence here, I believe the younger brother was more of a risk taker and felt if he did not go, he would regret it. And I think it was the right decision for him. So I want you to scroll down and you'll notice that here is an example teacher paragraph. Okay. So you'll notice, I'm going to show you kind of how to incorporate the first person. So right here, this thesis sentence will answer the essay prompt, which was explain whether you think the younger brother or older brother made the better decision about taking a risk. Okay. That has to be addressed. In my opinion, the younger brother was brave to take a risk and follow the instructions on the stone. And in the end, it paid off for him. Okay. And no, just so y'all know, and I'll say it again, you can't copy anything I've given you. Zero. First of all, the younger brother believed the stone was placed next to the two brothers while they were sleeping for a reason. I think he felt as if someone was trying to help him, giving him this once in a lifetime opportunity. This was clear to me when the younger brother said the words, what is written on the stone could not have been put there without reason. I also believe because he was younger, he was much more inclined to have an attitude of fearlessness. Second of all, and you'll notice these right here, and I'm going to highlight them there for a second. These are necessary to show when you're moving on to the next step. The other thing it's for is notice here, here, and here. The first argument's usually the longest one, and then a student will go second, and then a student will go third. You want to make sure they're equally weighted. Second of all, the younger brother's worried someone, oh, sorry, we did that one. I think the younger brother sees this moment and wanted to take advantage of it. For him, it was worth it. I don't remember if I did that one wrong. Third, the younger brother shows he's not afraid of taking on this risky adventure. I think he knew it was going to be difficult to swim across the river and steal the bear cubs from the mother, but he only thought about the possibilities of what could go right. He never considered what could go wrong. This was clear to me when he said, if you don't make an effort and try hard, nothing in the world will succeed. So my ending sentence here, I believe the younger brother was more of a risk taker and felt if he did not go, he would regret it. And I think this was the right decision for him. So notice the guidelines I've given here. The topic sentence should answer the prompt given. This was the prompt. Explain whether you think the younger brother or older brother made the better decision about taking a risk when it came to following the stone's directions. Use clear markers for transitions. This makes it clear to the reader so they can follow when the writer moves from one point to the next. Better for you, the writer, to make sure each point is evenly weighted content. And that's misspelled. W-A-I-G, weighted. Sorry. They're seeing me fix it. The best way to back up each point in a story is to quote the character, but you have to make sure the quotes are used correctly. The overall objective, make a claim to answer the prompt. This becomes your topic sentence. Support the claim with 3 clear arguments and back up each claim with textual references. End with a concluding statement to give a concluding comment. Okay, so what is your assignment? Well, I did the harder one for you. The easier one to do is the older brother. He had this many arguments. He had like 5 arguments. Pick what you think are the strongest 3, and the bear should be in there. That's the strongest argument. But he gave valid arguments. So you can follow the outline ideas I gave you, but your job is to create this. Okay, so I want to be clear. I am no longer allowing you to copy my sentences, period. This is your response to a STARS prompt. I will not be there. You cannot rely on me. I've given you everything I can for you to formulate your own. Make a claim. Either you think, well, I'm going to tell you the claim you're going to make is the older brother was wiser. Explain why in that topic sentence. Then you're going to give 3 reasons. He gave 5. Pick any 3. You're going to back it up with quotes. You don't have to use the ones that I gave on the outline, but what you have to do is make sure that you explain why. So I gave this thing on the board, and I gave it last time. Let me write it on a sheet of paper real quick. I think that will be easier since you can't see me at home. Get a marker here. Okay, so I want you to look at quotes kind of like a sandwich. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to introduce the point. Okay, so for example, the older brother brings up a warning about what could go wrong if they try. Like it's not clear. The directions are not clear. Well, then I could quote, this was clear when he said, suppose we go into the forest and night comes and we can't find the river, we should be lost. If we do find the river, how are we going to swim across? It could be broad and swift. Then you explain, well, what does that mean? Well, it means I agree with the older brother. Because first of all, the river could be, they could get lost. It's not clear where the river is in the forest. It could be a pretty big forest. And let's say it rained the night before. It could be torrential rain. It could be flooding. It could be, rapids. It could be really, really cold. So the brother has a valid point. So the quote, this is what most kids do. They misuse a quote. Make sure you punctuate it correctly. Introduce the quote. Use the quote from the text that backs up this point and explain what that quote means. So it's like a quote sandwich. The quote should never be by itself. It should always be introduced. The brother said blank space, quote, capitalize. Okay, and the punctuation should always be within the quotes. You should never have more than 1 punctuation mark, and it should never be after the quotes when you're quoting someone. Okay, so your assignment, 1 paragraph, just as I gave here. It should be 1 paragraph long, and it should be on the older brother. You cannot use my topic sentences. The only thing you can use are the quotes from the story to back up your claim. So make a claim based on what the essay prompt asked you. So you literally answer that in the topic sentence, write your own topic sentence, give me 3 reasons. Okay, support those reasons, right? By quoting the story, and then explain what that meant. What did the older brother mean in your opinion? That validates that reason. Do that 3 times, and then that end sentence will connect all 3 points. This was intended to be an easy assignment because it was prior to spring break, and it's just kind of to warm you up. They will get more complicated. So enjoy it, learn from it, make mistakes. Now's the time to make them. And this concludes the STARS 2023 RLA essay prompt number 1. We will do 5 more. The STARS writing prompt is in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade as of 2023. And the test date is April 25th. Okay. Hope you enjoy the rest of your spring break, those of you who are watching, and have a great day.